The Diablo 3 lore panel.
What's up, everybody? I guess if it hasn't been announced, welcome to day 2. It's very good to see y'all up and alive this morning. Hi. So guys, it's kind of interesting, 15 years of Diablo, and at least something like 7 years of Blizzcon. We've actually never had just a straight lore panel before, so this should be really cool. We've got some absolute badasses on this stage today. Guys, this is Leonard Boyarski. He is our senior world designer on D3. Kevin Martins is our lead content designer, and we've been tag teaming now, what seems for 100 years, on Diablo 3. We're going to riff a little bit on some new ideas, talk a little bit about Book of Cain and some of the history we've been trying to put together, and then we'll open it up for Q&A around the midpoint. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. Hell, we do too. So as we get started here, I wanted to tell you guys, many of you know we've been doing this Book of Cain thing. Do we talk about it a little later in this presentation? It's up to me. We'll talk about it right now. So we put together this thing called Book of Cain because, you know, the past number of years as we've been developing the story for Diablo 3, it demanded that we kind of relook at the world and relook at, you know, kind of the way history flowed. The Diablo series was developed between 2 different companies, probably something like 8 different fiction writers, you know, across manuals, you know, in the game scripts. And to be totally honest with you, it was a bit of a mess. And as we started really getting deep into D3, where like new ideas were coming out and kind of new looks at the world were taking shape that were really, really cool. And so we started to really look at the history and tighten up and trim and kind of relook at how these ideas stack. So, you know, so you get like the most maximum tight and smartly built, you know, continuity, you know, game continuity. So, and that really begat the Book of Cain. You know, as we kind of got all these ideas together, you know, this is pretty badass. Maybe we can, you know, put this in a cover and give it to people. So I just want to say up front, we get this on the Warcraft and StarCraft fronts all the time, is, you know, when you start tweaking things and, you know, purposefully retconning things, you know, it can get a little emotional. You know, people like to know what they know and like to count on, you know, the lore that they've been following for years. So I just wanted to say up front, especially in the Q&A part, I'm sure you guys are going to have a lot of questions for things. I know like previews for Book of Cain went up last night, and some things look a little different than they've looked for years. But all by design, no real major world changes or anything like that, by the way. This all sounds very gnarly, but just want to say up front, like we've been going back through history and trying to tighten it up and make it as smart as we can make it. So wanted to say that up front. As we get going here, I want to talk a little bit about the eternal conflict. As I roll right into that, we want to kind of debut kind of a kit of ideas that we've been building into Diablo for a while, but we haven't really evidenced in the game series so far. But I thought it'd be fun for you guys to see a little bit of the angels in the Diablo universe, right? We don't talk about them a whole lot. The only character you guys have seen consistently is Tyrael. So to kind of set up a little discussion about them, the idea is the Diablo universe is predicated on an eternal conflict. We have the high heavens and the burning hells. And one of these modified ideas that we've come up with, that we've been running with for the past couple years in development, is that what are heaven and hell actually fighting about? What are they doing, right? We kind of had this idea that, I don't know how to explain Anu and the dragon, right? Like, there's a mythic cycle we came up with of like the creation of the universe, right? That the ultimate manifestations of good and evil fought at the beginning of time and pretty much wiped each other out in kind of like a Big Bang kind of explosion, right? So part of the good guy was this kind of massive crystal, right? And we call it the Eye of Anu, right? It is the World Stone, right? You know, kind of spinning out in the heart of the universe itself. And legend holds, right, that with the World Stone, legend holds, like I'm making it up as I go, that the World Stone can be used, it's called the World Stone, to build worlds without end. It's essentially, you know, the heart of, you know, this supreme deity, right? That, you know, is a force of creation. So with this thing, it's theorized that you can build worlds without end. And ultimately, heaven, you know, the high heavens and the burning hells pretty much are also evidences of these first two great, you know, powers of the universe. So as the high heavens and the burning hells, as the angels and demons kind of become aware of each other, they start fighting over this world stone, because whoever controls it, right, can pretty much shape reality to their whim. So the idea that we built is in the center, you know, of the universe, where this world stone is, the forces of heaven and hell have been fighting there. We call that place Pandemonium. You guys will be familiar with the Pandemonium Fortress, you know, from different, I think we had a look at it in...
Yeah, it was in Diablo 2.
Diablo 2.
And at that point, the angels controlled it, and it was sort of their
Ladies and gentlemen, beginning now, the World of Warcraft lore and story Q&A begins. Please give a round of applause to our panelists.
What up, Blizzcon? It is on. How's everybody doing? End of day 2. Woo! What's up, baby?
There he is.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Wild Hammer fact checker is in the house. First in line. There he is.
Woo!
It's all right. We brought a blue shirt as backup.
Guys, my name is Chris Madsen, story director for Blizzard. This is Dave Kozak. He is the lead quest designer for World of Warcraft. And on our left is Sean Copeland. He's one of our historians, so if Dave and I get into trouble today, he's our sniper, right? So we ain't doing last year again.
It's like a human encyclopedia of everything. Have you seen him over at the lore stage? You know, he knows.
Attaboy, remember it.
Guys, we were talking about doing, kind of walking through some story stuff, but given the size of that line, let's just break into QA. Let's just hear what you guys have to say and take the whole time for QA.
Okay. First, I would like to say thank you for everything that happened last year. Like with, well, not the messing you up, but with putting.
It was fine.
Sorry about that.
Fine.
But anyway, putting
Barely
you,
scarred. Barely
like
scarred.
putting me in the game. I like that. Thank you very much. Thank you very. It is great. Okay. But for my question, I know that. Or no, that's probably repetitive. Okay. Anyway. In Gilneas, the quest lines end with the strong feeling of to be continued and that we're going back. And the only other zone in the game that had that same type of ending was Hyjal, and we did go back to Hyjal 2 patches later. So does that mean we're also going back to Gilneas?
2 patches later, maybe? Maybe? Back to Gilneas? I don't know. You know, the Gilneans have such cool architecture and such a cool vibe to it, and it's really hard, just because of the nature of their story, we can't really incorporate that outside in the rest of the world. It's hard to do. So it would be fun to go back to Gilneas and really kind of reclaim that. I don't think it's on the cards right away, but it's we just love the feel of that area and everything that they're about.
One suggestion. I know you didn't mention any large world PvP zone for Mist of Pandaria like you had Wintergrasp and Tol Barad in previous expansions. Maybe because it's a whole theme of PvP there, it could be Pandaria's world PvP zone since the continent's pretty fleshed out already?
Potentially, absolutely. We're looking at ways of getting world PvP into Pandaria. We're going to experiment with a couple things. I don't think we really were ready to talk about anything yet. We're looking at kind of ways to reward that, to make that really compelling and interesting. And certainly, as the global conflict escalates, we're going to really incorporate a lot of that into Pandaria. It's going to really heat up in Pandaria throughout the patch cycle. So we have some plans, but nothing to really talk about yet.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Red shirt guy.
Hey guys, my question's for Chris. 3 of my favorite characters are Arthas, Illidan, and Prince Kael'thas. When those characters died, what became of their bodies? Did Jaina take Arthas' body with her back to Stormwind? And a faction of Blood Elves still tied to Kael'thas claim his body? Is Illidan still at the top of the Black Temple?
You want them back, don't you?
Could we just bring them all back, Chris? Is that cool?
I wouldn't say all. Actually, we're just in a panel for the Broad WoW Q&A, and someone brought up, are you ever going to bring Illidan back? And so we just kind of asked, do you guys think we should bring Illidan back? Based on that response, I think it's likely. We'll have to figure it out. Relative to Kael'thas, I think his story is pretty done. He already came back, right? We pulled that hat trick once, and so but Illidan's definitely potential. Now, as for Jaina, running off with Arthas' body or whatever, I mean, that's just sick, man. You know? What in the world? But it's a very good question. Where is Arthas?
Kind of keep him in a freezer, maybe.
She can, cast a little blizzard on it. Cast a
Ice
blizzard on
block.
it. That's right. So, no, we don't necessarily know right now where Arthas' body is, but it's a very good question.
Some say he was in the new graveyard. There's a large new tomb that has the Lordaeron crest. Some speculated that's where he was.
Well, I'll just tell you off the top of my head, I haven't been involved in any conversations about whether that's true or not. But it's a really interesting question. I mean, his corpse is a potentially very significant.
Yeah, very scary.
One,
Thank you.
What's going on, guys? Pride from OMFG Kata, and I have a question from a fan from Facebook named Matthew Wolf, and he wants to know what is the motivation that the Pandaren would have to fight each other on their respective factions and battlegrounds and arenas and things like that.
Well, something that is hard to get across in the demos you've seen is that the Pandaren that live on the turtle have been separated from the Pandaren in the mainland for generations. It's been a long time. They've kind of, it's almost a splinter culture. The bravest, most boldest explorers have gone and lived on the turtle, and that's kind of that lineage. They're the ones that you as players are going to play. They're the ones that are going to go out to the world. And you can see these events through the 1 through 10 experience when they meet the Alliance and Horde and decide ultimately to represent one of those 2 factions as they go out through the world. So by the time your Pandaren gets to level 85, level 90, you've traveled the world representing Alliance or Horde and are going to represent that fight.
Totally, and while that definitely helps with their motivation, why they would fight each other, something to keep in mind, I think it's just hilarious. Like when Alliance and Horde Pandarens face each other on battlefields and stuff like that, like at a lore level, I think they're all like, what's up? Hey dude, what's up? Like, it's not like they're pissed, it's not like they're hating on each other at all. I think they get a kick out of it, right? Like, let's see how you do, let's see how you fight. I don't think they have any shred of hate in them, and they certainly don't have it for each other, regardless of which faction they've chosen. So I think it's kind of more of a fun, like, all right, Sparky, let's see what you got. But they'd probably be drinking beers right after, so.
There's something interesting about the Pandaren culture in that, and you'll discover this on the mainland of Pandaria. all the negative emotions, all the sort of anger and vengeance and hatred, those negative energies, they become manifest in Pandaria. They actually take physical form. That's what we call the Shah, that you probably saw some concept art for, maybe saw the art panel. So if you are filled with all this negative energy, it can literally kind of come and bite you in the butt. It's like really dangerous. So that's why the Pandaren, as a culture, as a species, they really value kind of an inner peace and an inner calm. They don't want to bring all that bad baggage into a fight. That's kind of how they are. That's why they're so chill. So when a Pandaren fights, he doesn't fight out of anger, hatred, vengeance, right? He fights to reach a conclusion, and then when things are settled, you have a beer, you chill, you take it easy, you bring it down, take it down a notch. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello. This one's for you, Mr. Metzen.
Mr.
It's informal calling you Chris, so Mr. Metzen. You wrote the book personally of Blood and Honor, which I really loved, and it's really good.
Good story.
And I was wondering if in the future you would ever write a novel or a short story personally that we could read, because I really liked your writing style and you have a really good insight to the characters. So I was just wondering if that could ever be a possibility that we could look forward to.
Well, thank you. You know, it was terrifying writing that because, you know, I don't know. You know what I mean? I think, like, as writers, I feel very goofy about how I sling words together. Game dialogue's one thing, but the prose thing was really hard for me. And so I've pretty much been a chicken all these years. You know, we'll let Davey do it. Dave just put out the Sylvanas story that popped a couple weeks ago. But trying to get, you know, the other brothers in creative development and sisters in creative development to, you know, kind of write a lot of the fiction. But maybe one day, you know, maybe one day I'll sack up and dig it out. But I do enjoy writing, but it's terrifying. Terrifying. I write it kind of like an 8th grade level, so.
Do it. Do it.
Do it. But thank you very much for the very kind compliment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this question's regarding Lordaeron. I wanted to know what happened to Arthas' sister, Kalia, if she escaped Lordaeron or if she died or what happened to her.
Good question.
Are we calling him the blue shirt?
Dr. Copeland, fire.
What's up? No, actually we did address that. We have a normal Ask CDEV thread. It's a Q&A that we do. We ask these guys these hard-hitting questions.
Just straight answer.
Just straight answer? We're thinking about it.
Okay. Which means we don't have a plan, but we've been talking about this character forever. I think there was some hooks in the RPG line. I have a topic for you guys. There were some hooks in the RPG line that kind of suggested she was going one way or another, but no current plans. While that's on my mind, how many role players are in the audience?
Nice.
Goodness gracious. So guys, I know you're pretty pissed off at the recent Ask Blizzard thing. We said the RPG line was non-canonical. How many people are pissed off that it was non-canonical? Not too many. That's not bad. Okay.
Somebody said they were stoked.
You're stoked that it's not canonical? I feel you, sister. I feel you. So anyway, it was a really blanket kind of call. We were moving fast that day. Hey, RPG is canonical? No, let's move on. But there are some really good bits in those books. It will be a very heavy task to try and go back through and codify every new hook that those writers put into those books. But there's a lot of good stuff in there too. So all I would say in terms of codifying all that is, let's say they're broadly non-canonical, but I'm sure there's all sorts of bits in there that we do want to use that are awesome, right? So just saying the big blanket thing isn't really helpful. So at some point we may put a project together where we go back and look at every one of those ideas and see which ones we absolutely want to say yes on and which ones, you know, like Admiral Proudmoore's got some love child elf thing. I'm like, what in the world? Like, He's lawful good. He's not gonna cheat on his wife. You know, it's just like there were ideas that I was just like, oh, come on. So we'll see. We'll see how that pings out. It just popped off the top of my head. So it sounds like most of you do not care. So if that's true, wonderful.
Thank you.
Did we ever get to your question?
Not really, but I'll wait.
Yeah, we don't know.
Thanks.
Okay, this is something that's been bothering me since the days leading up to Kata. Why have characters like Crassus, Khadgar, and especially Ronan that have been directly tied to the Black Dragon flight and Deathwing not been present at all in Cataclysm? And please, don't tell me Ronan's doing his own thing in Dalaran. His mind was controlled by Deathwing for almost an entire book.
Dude, he's been totally doing his own thing in Dalaran. If you tell me, don't tell you.
One of the issues we struggle with in making the game is that there are a lot of characters, and we want players to kind of remember the characters, and we want to really set up big characters that you remember. We don't want to have the idea that, oh, you have to read a whole novel to know this character or why this character doesn't like this. We try and make sure that the games do stand alone. So a lot of times we'll have stories in the novels that feel like they should kind of continue in the game, but we opt not to put that in the game because then we'd have to try and catch everybody up to a novel that they haven't read. So it's a pretty valid point, and it's also kind of hard to work into the game for everybody that has not read the novels.
Israel of Moonguard, praise Sylvanas. So whatever happened to the crown of Menethil? Or is that something that we're ever going to find out about?
Tyrannus' crown.
Yeah, the one that fell off his head when Arthur stabbed him.
Legendary loot drop. No, I'm just saying. Good.
We're gonna make it a legendary loot drop.
I have no idea who would have it, who would drop it. We're gonna take some notes.
Thanks.
Got it in my head.
Mr. Metzen, just first before I ask my question, I have to let you know that my name is Imizel from Maelstrom. Both the Scarlet March and the Roystrauss Forum Dynasty are inspired by you and salute you. So thank you very much for everything that you do.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
No problem. My question is regarding Tyrande. I'm kind of wondering, she was strong in the past, a strong female figure, a leader. She stepped up to the task when she was asked, and then it kind of fell off. During Burning Crusade, during Wrath, during Cataclysm, she kind of just, I mean, at this point, she's Malfurion's arm candy. What's going on?
Oh, come on. How dare you? Good point. I've been seeing this on forums quite a bit, too. Let me just say this. Before the quest line in Nagrand in Burning Crusade, there was no Thrall at all in WoW, right? Like, he was standing there, maybe he gave you the, what was it, the Ragefire Chasm quest, right? There was no Thrall at all. And I like this guy. It took an expansion or two or whatever to finally get to him and start, you know, really bringing his story off. I love Tyrande, right? I had a blast writing her in Warcraft 3. We just haven't gotten to her yet. But kind of like, you know, like Dave's, Sylvanas story, and the whole, Alex's, Silverpine quest line. Every one of these characters is going to have their day, and I love this character. And in no way do we intend to just make her Malfurion's arm candy or whatever. That's ridiculous. This is one of the fiercest, most badass, elegant, creatures in the world, as far as I'm concerned. So it's just a matter of time for a lot of these characters. Some of them, because of the comic book, Varian got his day in the sun, and we'll have more. And certain other of these characters, it just depends on what phase of development we're in, what big ideas we're driving at a given time. But like, totally, Tyrande's going to get some love, and not just going to make a comment here, but
Family show. It's on TV right now.
Family show.
But Jaina Proudmoore, on a similar vein, needs to have a moment. She's getting her moment. We got a novel coming out. She's going to be much more active. We love these characters. We're gonna bring them around. We're gonna bring them around.
And guys, here's the thing, right? I see this all the time on forums, and people are like, we'll get clobbered, right? That we're underserving these characters, or these ones are Mary Sue's, or these ones are whatever. It's all coming. We love these characters. They are all dynamic, and we have plans for all of them. We just can't execute against everything at any time. So no one loves these characters like we do. So we want to serve them all. We want them to be compelling. Even when we get into thematic areas like Thrall, right? So I'm reading a lot of this stuff, and people going, when did he become such a wuss? You've ruined Thrall. Like, it ain't over yet. Right? Brother's going through some rough times. But the champion times are on the way, right? So bear with us. We have a plan, we love these characters, as much or more as you guys do, and we want to be respectful of all of them. So just kind of saying that off the top of my head.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, first of all, Chris, I don't know what kind of shift in the universe happened whenever you come out on Blizzcon wearing an Alliance hoodie.
Want to see a magic trick? I'm going to get right out of this. You ready? For the horde! I almost got out of it. All right. Look.
Did the Doomhammer burn your hand when you put on the Alliance shirt?
A little bit.
That's not my question, by the way. I'm just saying that.
Okay. Let's just move right past that.
Okay, that's awesome because I have a really important question, okay? I waited on the other panel. Here's my question. This panel has said that Pandarians have no sense of hatred, that Pandaria is run on a sense of chi and positive energy. So how does it make more sense for a Pandaren to be a warlock and not a druid?
Are they making...
I didn't think Warlock was in there.
They're not allowed to be Death Knights, Paladins, or... Help me out, guys. Is it Warlocks?
All right, I'll tell you this.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It was...
I'll tell you this, true
druids,
or not.
Where's the fact checker?
There were three.
Copeland, go. What I would say is, if that's true, I don't like it. I typically get overruled when it comes down to game design, right? They're trying to balance out forces.
Warlock's a little weird. I was pretty sure Warlock was out.
I can't stand that shizzle. But what I would say is, in certain of these classes, Death Knight, Warlock, right? These are affected classes, right? Death Knights aren't necessarily choosing this life. You know what I want to do when I grow up? I want to become a slavering, rotting Death Knight. That sounds like fun, Sparky. Warlock too, if it goes that way, I'm just riffing off the top of my head. These are very, I guess you can argue, well, Pandarans don't necessarily have, they just don't vibe on hate. It's not impossible that they would hate. Do they hate injustice? Do they hate to see starving people on the side of the street? Probably. It's not that they are without hate in toto. It is that, it's that they choose other.
So they're aware of the consequences of hate more so than any other.
I don't really care about them being warlocks as much as I care about them not being druids.
You want to bear form.
Okay, that's the thing. That's the excuse they gave. Well, what would bear form be? They're already a bear. It would be bear. So,
that sounds
if you did this, okay,
shady.
like through meditation, they're able to unlock a primal form, and they're able to attack as a bear. That's not difficult to explain through as much as a warlock.
I'm feeling you right now. We'll Monday morning, we'll run down the hall and we'll yell at the design dudes and go, hey, we'll see
I
how
don't know, but I don't know. The timeline, Pandaria disappeared behind the mists before the Sundering. I don't know if they really had the druids coming. I don't know if Cenarius was around there teaching them to be druids.
That is a very good point,
I don't think
David.
it was happening.
Very good point.
We have a fact check happening. Data is being poured onto the stage right now. What's the verdict?
She was confirming the warlock thing.
They can't be warlocks. Good.
Right.
Druids. Druids is the question. Yeah. I'd say I still think druids are out. That might change, but I think no druids.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Good question.
How you doing, gentlemen? Idiot Tank Doomall Horde. My question concerns the demon/dragon soul. With Thrall and the heroes going in and taking it out of the timeline, Alexstrasza was never captured, which means most of her mates are still alive. Ronan never went on a quest to save her, which means he never got redeemed and became head of Dalaran. And of course, the aspects are still at half power. Go.
That was very well thought out, and your observations are airtight. Watch how it plays out. Bear with us.
Thank you.
We watch a lot of Star Trek too, so we get this whole time thing. No problem. No problem.
Yes, my question is about Arthas' mother, Lyanna Amenethel. She was mentioned in the Rise of the Lich King novel, and then once in Warcraft 3, he killed his father. There's never any mention about what happened to her either. Is he a mama's boy and he didn't kill her, or did he have no mercy and kill her as well, or did she just die of old age? Because Tenorus was pretty old at the same time.
I think that we have not officially made that up. What I mean is we haven't crafted her fate. Like, I don't think anyone around the office knows. I don't think we've even talked about it. Although my impression of Warcraft 3, I think it works better if she had died at some point before the fall of Lordaeron, right? Of something, right? We just haven't covered it because killing Terenus is pretty striking, right? We didn't see his mom. We didn't see. I just think it diminishes that moment if he just goes on this Charlie Manson spree. So I think probably a classier solution would be that somehow she's just out of the picture years earlier.
Or
think about it.
you kill her and get a legendary crown.
So you
Probably
were
not,
saying
probably.
that she died previously to the corruption of Arthas?
My sense of it is that that's probably the right way to play it, ultimately balancing all these ideas, but we'll continue to talk about it.
Thank you. Good question.
Hello. I just read the Sylvanas Windrunner short story
Excellent.
last night.
Thank you.
Really good.
Boom.
Questions arose from that regarding the shards of Frostmourne. Where are they? Did Sylvanas or some of her flunkies take it to Undercity, or something else entirely?
Yeah, it specifically wasn't addressed in the story, and I actually don't know the answer as to. I didn't think they were there, honestly, but I don't think we've addressed it in the lore.
Some very smart people picked those things up and took them somewhere where they will be safe. But I can imagine there will be shenanigans one day. Some idiot trying to reforge that damn thing. Sounds plausible to me. And that's about all I know about it.
Thank you.
Hi, my question's about Agalon. When you beat him, he starts to go on maybe a midlife crisis where he's like, where the other planets he's destroyed, kind of the same as Azeroth. He seems to wonder how, you can differ from the Titan plan. Then he decides, I think in a comic book, he needs more than 1 hour a week to see what makes us tick. What's he up to? Are there more of his kind that might kind of come see what he's up to? What's up with him?
Good question. How do I answer this? The whole Titan storyline, who those folks are, what they're doing out in the universe, are they still alive? did they have a plan for this, or for their plan for the world if it went south? We see in Old Doom that, in fact they did, and it wasn't all that good for us. The Titan storyline, throughout World of Warcraft is something that needs to play out over a very, very long period of time. We can't just 2 expansions from now we'll have Titans. Like they're so big. Like I'm not entirely sure how to deal with them yet because they're massive, right? And they are from somewhere super exotic. So it's kind of hard to know exactly how to leverage them into the franchise. Although I loved what we did on Cataclysm, relative to that storyline coming back around, Wrath of the Lich King, with Old Doom, and all the storylines in that dungeon. So it's definitely something that is very vital to Warcraft's storyline. But we're still kind of letting it cook a little bit in terms of how we'll leverage them. I'll riff a little bit and tell you that there were things about Burning Crusade that I really, really loved. Shattered planets in the sky and ethereals running around. I mean, it was just so high concept and whack, right? It was not the same old fantasy thing. But as we talked to the community, certainly a lot of folks around the office were just like, I don't know, man. I just want to have gnolls and kobolds and run around in a pretty forest. Like, that's what fantasy is to me. So reflexively, when we built Northrend, you get like Grizzly Hills, you get these really just pretty areas, right? Because a lot of the team was just feeling, we want to get back to that. It's the familiarity of fantasy that really makes it work. It makes us feel at home in this world. But there's a part of me, man, that wants to just launch into all the, the worlds out there, like, are there still Draenei out there in the universe? Are the Titans still moving out there, right? We didn't defeat the Burning Legion in Burning Crusade, right? They're still out there. There's all sorts of crazy critters out there. I want to go to Argus, right? The world of the Eredar. I want to go, I had this hook. I mean, how badass would it be if there's like this shining fleet of Draenei out there somewhere that Velen doesn't even know about, other survivors, right? Wow, that's Protoss. So there's so many flavors and themes I want to chase relative to these big mythic macro ideas, but it's just a matter of feeling it out, right? We got plenty of time with this game, but for the most part, I wanted to explain that a lot of our brothers and sisters at Blizzard kind of tend to like it a little more down to the ground. So let me just ask you, with y'all here, does the kind of weird Doctor Strange kind of cosmic stuff, like, is anyone in here into that kind of stuff, or more than a few? So we'll see. I love that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens with Titans and all that good stuff.
I think it is safe to say that there's something about Azeroth that is unique within the cosmology, and there's a reason that it's kind of the focus of this. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, I wanted to say thank you for the excellent Forsaken storylines in Cataclysm. I'm a diehard Forsaken fan, and I follow them religiously. I wanted to ask regarding the questline in Hillsbrad specifically. Silly quest aside, I noticed there was an interaction between the Frostwolf clan of Alterac Valley and the Forsaken of Terran Mill. I felt that was somewhat unresolved. I really loved the anger, the hatred that it kind of swelled for my character. I'm a diehard role player. And so I was following this concept of, we already hate Garrosh because of all the crap he pulled in Silverpine, and we're now going to hate the Alterac Valley orcs, particularly the Frostwolf clan. Do you have plans to resolve these tensions, this animosity, and the Forsaken's place in the Horde?
Yeah, one of the themes that we were hinting at with Cataclysm that I love to explore and that we're going to explore a lot more is sort of these fissures and cracks that are developing among the Horde that might be problematic. And that was a big one. That was actually a very big dramatic scene. Kind of hidden in the middle of the zone was this, whoa, wait, did that just happen? Wait a second. Yeah. So your reaction to it's perfect. It's kind of an awesome story hook there that has kind of been unresolved. There's that hanging there. That's just one of the examples of sort of these fissures in the Horde that we're going to really look at and explore. So that'll come around again, for sure. Thank you. Any more to say on that? Okay.
Hey, my name is Cameron. I love trolls. They're awesome. They're the best race ever created in World of Warcraft, in my opinion. You already had us co-op Zul'jin. You gave us you know, the new heroics, and they were great and fun to play. But will we ever really see a return of the troll empires? And just giving us good trolls back. I love what you guys did with the new starting area too, by the way.
Excellent.
Really cool.
Troll empires. The Darkspear are interesting. It's kind of like an offshoot of the trolls. I mean, they're relatively a small tribe that is now kind of ascending to importance because of being associated with the Horde. The rest of the troll tribes. Very different situation. Man, if they ever could unite, look out world, right? And that's really kind of what the Zandalari we're trying to do. And why are the Zandalari suddenly all about creating a new troll empire? That you're going to find out in Pandaria. So we're going to continue some troll fiction there.
Through the future troll storylines, apart from the Darkspear, obviously, will probably actualize through the Zandalari. They are not done yet, and they're crazy.
They are being driven by something right now.
Just wanted to say thank you, and you know, if you guys want someone to write that stuff, I've got a portfolio and resume right in my
troll
bag.
brother.
Hell yeah, Tazdingo!
Tazdingo.
Thank you.
Hello. I've been to every BlizzCon except one, and I remember reacting to the announcements of the various expansions. Woo, we're going to Outland. Woo, we're killing Arthas. Woo, we're going to Deathwing.
Is this gonna hurt?
Pandas. Huh?
Is this gonna hurt?
I like the more serious aspects of Warcraft's storyline. I like the comedy stuff. I got a kick out of Hillsbrad and Johnny Awesome and all that. But I'm just wondering, is there going to be dark, serious stuff at some point in this expansion, or is it going to be 18 months of lightheartedness and Kung Fu Panda jokes?
The Pandaren had a cameo in Warcraft 3. That's kind of where they were introduced. And they sort of appeared in some April Fool's jokes we've done since then. But you haven't really met them. You haven't really seen who the Pandaren are, what they're about, how they're about, the kind of stuff they struggle with, the kind of bad stuff that's happening in their homeland, and the whole rich history of this culture. So when we created Pandaria, I mean, we went back like 15,000 years to try and figure out, well, what were they doing then? What was happening to the land then? What happened during the Sundering? And really tried to build a rich history behind them. So if you think it's a joke race, let's check out what we're doing, because we're actually really building a lot of story onto this. There's quite a bit to them. I think they're pretty badass. I think they're really awesome fighters. The Pandaren are just really fun to play with. I mean, they love life. They work hard. They play hard. They eat hard. They drink hard. They sleep hard. They do everything. They really live life to the fullest. They bring a whole other aspect to all the different cultures in WoW. I think you'll see a lot. I think you'll be surprised.
There's no way we're going to build an expansion set based on an April Fool's joke. And what you guys may not know is did I say that in a panel? I said it in an interview. The Pandarens came, our senior art director, Sam Didier, right, kind of started drawing these guys years ago. It was just a passion project for him. And he painted all sorts of pictures of these guys. No one really thought, that we'd really include him in Warcraft. It was just what he loved drawing. And so he had like crazy panda shamans, and just his artwork was off the hook. And we were pretty much, I remember that, was it Warcraft 3? We included Chen Stormstout in Frozen Throne, maybe, in the Orc campaign? Was it after that? I can't remember anymore. But these guys are not a joke. This is an idea that we've been thinking about for years. It's one of our favorite flavors of Warcraft. It's not ultimately silly, it's just a little lighter. But the context of what's going on where they live, the context of what's happening in the history of the world at this time, serious as a heart attack. They're just really chill about it. right? But this is no joke, right? You know, the Pandarians, this is not a throwaway, silly, haha, funny expansion set. It is absolutely the next vital chapter as things ratchet up. They're gonna get really gnarly. The idea is, as things get super crazy in the world between red and blue, how do I put it? The Pandaren are gonna be part, ultimately, of a solution because they just think differently than most of us do, a little more far-sighted. So they're really going to make a difference in the history of the world, but it's definitely not a light throwaway expansion set in any way. Like Dave said, come on the ride with us, right? You know, be patient, but don't jump to conclusions about how thin the idea is. It is not. It's about as rich a kit as anything we put out so far, and it's definitely got its intrigues and its dangers and its drama. You know, it's definitely, you know, it ain't armies of the dead and it ain't, you know, demons falling out of the sky. But it's definitely going to have some flavor and some teeth.
Great. Thank you for the question, though. Awesome.
Yeah, really good question, man.
Hi, my name is Daniel. Big fan, Chris, and all the writers. I really like the short stories. Coming home from work and having a Lord to read's pretty cool.
Great.
My question's about Bane Bloodhoof and the Fearbreaker. I read The Shattering and I read the short story, and he kind of seems like he's leaning Sunwalker path. Or is there something bigger to that or different to that, or is he becoming a Sunwalker?
This came up again the other day. I'll tell you my opinion. It can go a number of ways. I mean, his story's just beginning, technically. The Sunwalker thing, everybody had a fit when Tauren, you know, when Paladin came up, right? It just doesn't feel all that right. You know, these are, you know, historically nomadic people. They're down with the Earth Mother. They're, you know, people, you know, that are bound to nature. The Paladin light thing doesn't really fit all that well. Sunwalker was an attempt to at least try to you know, realize the lore and make sure that, you know, it fit about as well as it could fit. And I think the Quest teams did a really good job on you know, banging out that idea. Relative to Bane, I can see how people can come to that conclusion, you know, Fearbreaker being a hammer, being a particularly paladin-like weapon. I can tell you my opinion is, like, I don't feel that would be appropriate for a Tauren leader. It just doesn't fit with their kit. And I actually particularly like the idea that Bane and Cairn were actually not supernatural people. They're just Tauren, right? They're just dudes of the earth. You know, they don't have a supernatural component. They don't have magical powers, right? They're just Tauren, right? I love the truth of that because that's just what Tauren says to me. So I'm not a huge fan of actually making him a Sunwalker, but you know, you never know. You know, we've sold weirder ideas in this world. If you've all been paying attention, I've bought off on all sorts of weird things I didn't think would work. So you never know. But I don't love that idea. Now I want to ask Dave. Were you guys totally going in that direction?
I don't think we had solid plans yet for where Bane was going to go, so we can talk about that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, just give a quick shout out to my guild, Black Label on Calthus. Anyways, I was wondering, for the books, we don't see too much of what happens in the books, like come over into the game, like with spoilers for Thrall. Crossus dying, is that going to like have an effect on WoW? Are we going to see like Alexstrasza still grieving, or like going to get a new maid or something like that?
That's two different points. On part B, which is, you know, Alexstrasza and the nature of the aspects and what's coming for them. I can't wait for you guys to see how this all ends up. It's really good. So we're not gonna tell you anything about
Big
about
things
the
go down in
aspects.
4.3.
Big things go down. I mean, literally, figuratively. Big events transpire in 4.3. You guys are gonna love it. It's let's say the completion of a very grand cycle that's been moving for a very long time. Relative to the first part, you're talking about things, this has been coming up a lot lately. For many years, we put out books because I was petrified of trying to develop fiction in real time with WoW. The quest design process is complicated enough, right? It's really hard to develop quests, right? You know, Dave, how many people on your team? You got 7?
7, 8 people at the moment.
You know what I mean? Like trying to develop that much story and just keep moving and keep the game development moving fast. It's an incredibly complex process and time-consuming process. So as we were chasing stories over the years, we tended to, we'll novelize this or we'll tell a story that's in the past. We took more of a conservative route. The last number of years since, I think, a little bit of Arthas, but really with the Shattering, which just blew it out, we want to start making everything as concurrent with the current timeline as possible. Not timeline, but the current ideas that you guys are actually engaging with through the game right now. You know, so Thrall Twilight Aspects is roughly contiguous with, you know, elements of the last couple patches. What the hell are we talking about?
Well, I could jump in. Oh,
I had a good point. I just don't
got the
remember
hand. I got the hand.
Was that?
It was the hand.
Didn't. So a lot of people. So the fact that you guys are here, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume you kind of dig some of this content. You dig reading these books. But like for the millions of WoW players out there, not everybody wants to go read a book. It's a digital age. Buy a Kindle, damn it. Quit complaining. So a lot of people don't necessarily want to run out and read books and comics and all that stuff. They want their content in the game. When we have these big tectonic movements, you know, within the ancillary fiction, a lot of players can start to feel a little cheated. Like, whoa, 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 you just killed Karen. I didn't see that. I don't get to take part in that at all. I certainly don't want to read a stupid book about it. So you can tell, like a massive part of our player base can feel cheated from time to time. I love us putting out books, and we are going to continue to do so. We're going to continue to make them as good as we can make them. But it does bring up a good point. I think the onus is on us to try and really bring some of these events and really have them more evidenced in the game. That kind of thing needs to be balanced out against the quest lines and the content that Dave and his team are already pushing. You know, you can only get so much done at any given time. So it's something we're trying to balance a little better as we move forward, and so that no one feels ripped off, right? No one feels like, well, I never saw this content. What in the world, right? It's just something we're trying to balance as we go.
Certainly one of my principal goals with being on the content team for WoW is to make sure that these key events that happen in the lore are somehow represented in the game. So if you read the book, you'll get all kinds of perspectives about the characters and about the event that happened, but there will be a component of it in the game that you can interact with so that you can catch up, so you can see what happened. Like, oh, big event, I was there, I got to experience that. It's not easy to do. We're gonna keep trying to experiment. I think we can do a much better job of it, and I absolutely agree with you. So we're working on that. It's one of my principal goals, and I work really closely with all the guys on CDev to try and make that happen.
All right, thanks. Yeah, you guys do a great job.
Thank you.
Hey, how's it going? You guys are awesome, brilliant geniuses. Chris, I love you. You're my hero. So don't get mad at this question. I played Alliance for 7 years. And the booze, there they are. So that kind of proves what I'm going to say. You've done a wonderful job with the Horde and fleshing out their story, and Thrall is this amazing, honorable, cool guy, gets married, all that stuff.
It happens.
And it's really great. And then when it comes to like variant, he's a really one-dimensional, I'd say almost boring thing.
Oh,
so,
how dare you.
I'm sorry. It's really a popular issue. Online and on blogs and stuff. Does Alliance ever get to kick ass at any point in WoW? Because, see, or is it one of those wait and see things? Because Horde's amazing.
Here's the deal. Part of the Thrall thing, I've been pushing that. I particularly love that character. I don't look at it as a Horde issue. I look at it as a Thrall issue, right? Ultimately, that doesn't matter, but just so you know, I'm just really invested in that. Right, I'm biased. Invested in that character. Here's what we're going to do. I don't know exactly where it's going to drop. We're trying to get this idea executed against 5.0. I think Varian has potential to be an unbelievably badass character. I've been talking to Dave and kind of jotting down some notes. What I want to do is create a very epic quest line called the Trials of the High King, such that Varian will be given tasks like, the labors of Hercules, right? By each of the Alliance races, something that means something to them, something that really gives you an insight into each of these races and how they're doing right now, something that only he can kind of accomplish for them. And you will be his squire, right? You will help Varian become the most badass Alliance leader, such that at the end of the day, there's no more personality bullshit, right? He's totally got it together. He's one of the most awesome warriors in the world. And ultimately, every one of these Alliance races is going, you're totally our king. We will follow you anywhere.
Thank you so much.
And the thing I'd say on top of that, kind of like we were talking with the opening ceremony the other day, the conflict that's coming between the Alliance and the Horde, the Alliance is going to need a king that has his shit together. And he's going to get it together.
Absolutely. We always look at, when we write for the world, sometimes like we see Thrall as like a world character. And I can understand if you're the Alliance, you're like, yeah, but he's not my dude. And I feel you there. I think we owe the Alliance big time. So it's going to come around. Yeah. And we're also going to explore his Varian's relationship with his son, with Anduin. We're going to explore some of that.
We've actually got really good hooks for Anduin down the line. Anduin's like potentially, and you know what's funny? Before Christy Golden wrote The Shattering, we did not have plans for Anduin. And she was, we were talking today, we had worked out the outline, and she's like, Chris, I'm feeling this kid, and I think he's going to be a really wonderful component of the story and help me move things along. I'm like, Christy, I don't know, that's burning a lot of screen time on a character. And she said, just trust me. Like, I totally trust her. And she killed it. I'm reading that book and just going, I love this kid. So currently he's off to boarding school with the Draenei and learning, the deep ways of the cosmic light with Velen. And we got some plans for that boy one day. So there you have it.
Or the Horde.
All this Alliance talk. I know.
Well, we got plans for the Horde, too. It's all
Don't worry, Horde.
You guys are great. Dave, thank you so much for that Sylvanas story. That was excellent.
Thank you.
And on that topic, in the story, we see that there are 9 Valkyr, and it takes 1 to revive her. In the Silverpine quests, we see 3 Valkyr seemingly sacrifice themselves to revive her. So can you clarify, are there any rules as far as her Valkyr resurrection? And like, if there are, how many does she have left? And can she make more?
So she cannot make more. What you got's what you got. It was interesting as we were putting that story together, we were trying to make sure it matched up with what was going on in Silverpine. So 3 of the more lesser Valkyr it took to raise her in Silverpine. It only took 1 of the more elder Valkyr to really kind of sacrifice herself. How many are left? I think, what do we come up with? You're going to have to, I'm turning to you here because I think we counted up. 3 in Silverpine, 1 in Northrend. One of them was killed by the Alliance in Andahal, right? Yeah. So what's we got left? 4? She's only got 4. Go get her!
Long live the Banshee Queen!
Yeah.
I actually brought my archive from the East Coast in the hopes that I could get you to sign of Blood and Honor. I read it on the airplane. And I have 10 Horde 85s on one server.
Nice!
Yeah, 1 of each class, because I'm a GM, so I like to know a little bit about everything. But I've always had a soft spot for Tyrion, so I really, really appreciated that story to kind of justify why I loved him so much. But that's kind of completely not related to my question. My question's actually about Neptulon in the Throne of the Tides and kind of what happened to him. And are we going to find out about his little tryst with Ozymat and the tentacle thing that kind of happened?
Me?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about tentacles now. I don't know nothing.
Keep it
about
clean,
that.
keep it clean.
Yeah, maybe we'll just leave that under the ocean. Just leave that buried. Leave that.
Yeah, actually, I do not have a good answer for that.
What happens in the Throne of Tide stays in the Throne of Tide.
Thank you.
Can we just not answer that question? It's a really hard question. It's a damn mess, is what it was. Just kidding, just kidding, just kidding.
For the
Sign the
Horde,
book.
Earth and Ring represent. My question is about Bolvar Fordragon. He was Alliance leader, badass mother effer, and then he becomes the next Lich King. And we don't see him reigning in the Scourge at all. So what's up with that? I mean, he was awesome before, and now what's he doing sitting on the throne? I mean, we already had a leader sitting on his butt for 5 years, and now we have another leader sitting on his butt for 5 years?
I gotta say, it wasn't an easy transition for him. You gotta give him a little bit of time. He was kind of melted for a little while, and then he's just stuck in an ice cube. It's tough. That's hard. That's a hard thing to go through.
Pardon me. Well, relative to him not reigning in the Scourge, what do you base that on?
The Skullomance, Stratholme, like withdrawing all of them back to Northrend. I mean, Arthas could definitely have called everybody back up. As far as I know, I'm sure he could have done. I think Fordragon could do that too. But we're fighting them in Anderhall. We're going into Stratholme. We're going into Skullomance.
All right. So the way I would spin that is that the Scourge and the Cult of the Damned currently operating in Plaguelands are likely autonomous.
Oh.
The idea with Bolvar putting that helmet on and attempting to kind of contain the Scourge, I think that's probably a thing. This is where we get a little funky, right? It's probably a thing. It's really about Northrend, right? And the idea is, yeah, but I just got on a boat yesterday, man. Those quests are still happening. Ideally, if this thing had a clean timeline, which it does not. If we were making a movie, if we were writing it as a novel, I imagine the fiction of it is such that with him on that frozen throne, the Scourge has kind of gone to sleep in Northrend, right? But obviously it doesn't play out that way in the game. You can still go back and do all those quests across Northrend or whatever. So, you know, we're trying to figure it out. But that's the intent of the fiction, is that things aren't as bad as they were. And he is not a monstrous Lich King. Is actually kind of trying to keep everybody chill. There won't be any major crazy new Scourge attacks for some time. But the Scourge operating in Plaguelands, I think it's probably more helpful to look at them as a little more autonomous. Although we haven't really dug out a lot of lore to substantiate that. Well, how are they autonomous? Who's driving these critters? Zombies don't have free will.
Well, certainly as Arthas' power waned, he lost control of the Forsaken.
Totally.
Yeah, so we got a new Lich King.
Oh, good backup, Dave.
Getting his feet wet. Lich King strikes back, someone suggested.
Merely a setback.
Why would you assume?
Someone picked up those fragments of Frostmourne. What do they do? Nice. Cool. So, very, very good question.
Thanks very much. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Hey there, guys. This is a question that I have had for 3 years, 1.5 expansions. I thought I was going to get an answer in 4.1. I thought I was going to get an answer with the troll guy who asked his troll questions. But here it is. In the Gundrak dungeon, there is an area with the stone sentinel guys, and if you look over the cliff, there's a big wiggly snake tail. And I have been bothered by this forever because there's nothing that massive and snaky in the, so with these questions, I've seen Chris answer these in the past, and it's one of those like, we'll see, I'll look into it. So I brought a screenshot of it. I blew it up.
The man comes armed with a wiggly snake tail. A wiggly snake tail appears. It's super effective.
Dude just showed you a snake, man.
Feel dirty.
So you said there was something driving the trolls, and
it ain't that.
All right. Well, so then, what is this giant snake tail?
Clearly, it's a super critical story point to World of Warcraft. You just haven't found out yet.
It drives me crazy, and I'm just curious.
That's the first sign of the return of the Titans. And Medivh will be leading them.
The forums will be holding
And
you to
Thrall
that.
is going to leave Agra and start dating Jaina. Just kidding. Oh, how dare you. I don't know what the hell that snake thing is, but it's kind of cool.
I'll be very honest, sometimes really cool stuff appears in our game, and then we kind of scramble to figure out why it would be there, because it's cool. Artists love to just do cool stuff, and so, yeah, sometimes we miss something, like something cool is there, and we're like, oh, wow, I don't know, it's a snake.
Welcome to developing video games. You put what in what?
We have time for a few more questions.
All right, thank you. My name is Magnus, and Chris, I have an answer to your opening ceremony yesterday. For a Alliance variant for Doomhammer, do Bolvar's Longsword.
Is there an existing hook for Bolvar's Longsword? I like that a lot.
Do I have to add that to my list now?
My question is, how are you going to do the leadership for the pandas, right? So they're unified once during the quest line, and then they split up to Alliance or Horde. So who's going to be leader, and can one of them be voiced over by Jack Black?
What was that? God. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Let me do one more voice. That'd be good. Too soon. Damn right, it's too soon. It was too many back then. They actually don't kind of have leaders that way. There are notable pandas, right? But they're really kind of self-actualizing people, right? They don't really, I mean, certainly they have well, I don't know how much you want to say.
There's definitely going to be representatives for the Pandaren with the Horde and a representative of the Pandaren with the Alliance. I wouldn't necessarily call them racial leaders because the Pandaren are very, very different. And those leaders come from the turtle, right? So it's not quite, they're not, you're not going to find them on Pandaria somewhere. So different situation, and we haven't, like, I don't have names to give you yet, but we got to have some.
And what was the other part?
Can one of the representatives or leaders be voiced by Jack Black?
No. Hey, look, I love Jack Black. I love those movies. Shall not be named, right? We've been slugging panda ideas for 12 years. So I think ours are better.
Culturally, it's just very different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually, I mean, there's a lot of, obviously a lot of visual continuity there with, the other, panda movies or whatever. And, we've been building this kit for a long time. We're actually, we totally did. You guys may or may not know this. We were going to have Pandaren be the Alliance race in Burning Crusade. And we built that kit out, years ago, right? But we got into a situation where we kind of pulled back, like, well, maybe it's not right, and there's maybe a story there. But we pulled back on the idea and crafted Draenei. So I only roll that out to just show you, like, we've been very serious about this idea for a very long time. And actually, in a way, it's really cool that we didn't necessarily execute against that at that time, because now we can build a whole land, right? Instead of just a starting experience, we could go to town on this idea and really execute at a very high level.
I don't know if you got to see the art panel. The Pandaren that we can build nowadays, they're so expressive. Just their facial animations, just the way the body's put together. We could do so much more with this race. They're so much more compelling now than we ever could have done back then. So it's really, really cool that we get to do this now. We get to do it big.
That is all the time that we have for today. May we please have a round of applause for our panelists for answering all
Thank you
these
very much, guys.
questions.
Hey guys, thanks once again for coming into day 2. We've loved having you here. We've loved been jamming. Loved to have jammed with you guys all weekend long. So thanks again for coming to BlizzCon. Thanks again for loving this stuff and sticking with us and just really making us feel.
Thank
like
you
you're on
very,
our
very
team.
much.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.